Hello, welcome to Dharma Jazz. My name is Steve. I like to help people make better music. So there are a lot of resources on Bill Evans' style, a lot of emphasis on his harmony, his signature melodic ideas, his licks. Play chords like Bill Evans. Play Bill Evans' greatest licks. Things of that nature. Rich material for sure. But focusing on just the notes misses at least a couple other facets of his playing that I feel are at least as important, maybe even more so, than just the statistical density of his work. I'm talking about Bill Evans' tone and his compositional awareness and phrasing. I've got some follow-up posts about that coming up. But before we get into those areas, I'd like to offer a couple of maybe challenging and liberating questions and truths that may do more to free up your playing, bring more meaning to your music, than all the transcriptions and licks you're planning on shedding. I invite you to stick around and we'll explore some ideas. So you want to play like Bill Evans? Who doesn't? Well, let's begin with the question, why? It's a question I asked myself back when I first started doing transcriptions. That was Bill's 1960 album Portrait in Jazz. Was it because I wanted to be famous or noticed or respected by peers and critics? Bill Evans is famous, ergo, if I can sound like Bill Evans, then I'll have respect and fame and success or whatever. Or was it because I was being too lazy or afraid to explore and develop my own vocabulary for expressing myself honestly? Did I simply lack the confidence or encouragement to find my own creative path in the jazz idiom? So at that time, this was the late 90s, I was in retreat in the mountains in southern Colorado. I was diving deep into personal, spiritual, and creative work, and one takeaway from that period was this realization that wanting to be liked or seeking respect are not reliable, motivating forces for making honest art. It leads us to artifice and shallowness. We become derivative. We rely on expedience, inauthenticity, and it invariably takes us down this path of sounding just like everyone else in that genre. And besides, it's not our voice. We wind up parroting someone else's voice, and there's already way too much of that in the world. I love Bill Evans' music. It moves me, but I'm not a fetishist. Says the guy with a Bill Evans biography on the shelf and a Bill Evans poster on the wall and doing a series of posts on Bill Evans, and I'm working on Bill Evans transcriptions at home, and I've gotten a lot out of digging into his arrangements, watching videos on his chords and stuff. But I've tried to remain mindful that that investment of time is a means to inform my own personal creativity. It's to pique my own musical curiosity rather than an attempt to become an imitator of Bill Evans' voice. Now, I'm definitely not saying that one shouldn't study other people's work, and this includes Bill Evans or Red Garland or Joni Mitchell and Michael Brecker for that matter. I think it's useful in nourishing our own path to see good examples of how great artists have solved various musical problems, getting just the right colors or the right metaphor or image, or how did they resolve harmonic structures, how do they experiment with new forms, and so on. But the aim of this post is to point out that relying on external resources, specifically other people's style, for personal direction can lead us to omit some vital work that as artists we cannot avoid doing if we want to be honest artists. In the documentary The Universal Mind of Bill Evans, there's a link in the description. You should watch it. Speaking to teachers, Bill says, when you begin to teach jazz, the most dangerous thing is you tend to teach style. Now, from my observation, teachers tend to let students off the hook for learning things like chords and proper voice leading, scales, interval practice, other elements of composition, to say nothing of building a solid and reliable expressive technique. Most folks just don't think they can be bothered with such drudgery, running scales, doing exercises, shedding intervals. Ugh, I get it. It's like pulling teeth sometimes. Castor oil. But if you really want to play like Bill Evans, you would do well to dig into music theory and composition. Train your ears to connect to your inner emotional landscape, and then get your chops in shape to execute what your heart is telling you to express. That's how Bill Evans played. So trying to tie it together, what hooks us into someone's music, I think, is the resonance we feel with that artist's inner landscape, as expressed in their creativity. Bill Evans' music was a vehicle for his inner emotional landscape, coming from his own personal life experience. He worked like a demon to develop the vocabulary needed to express that landscape. You know, he spoke frequently about playing honestly and taking care of the music, basically doing the homework in earnest. When I listen to his music, I hear someone who is dead serious about communicating his intentions as authentically as possible. I think it's that honesty that made him so accessible to so many people, artists, lay people alike. And to duplicate or mimic Bill Evans' emotional connection is, in essence, to co-opt or hijack someone else's personal experience. Why try to be a second-rate Bill Evans when you can be a first-rate you? So I'd like to encourage you to get real about what you are feeling. Examine how you think about things in the world and your place in it. Learn to accept all that, and then muster the courage to pursue the admittedly daunting task of developing the chops and intuitive knowledge to make it happen. Now, this is a really important element. It's not enough to just have an intellectual understanding. There's not time to think about it. Bill Evans, he said, 1 minute's music in 1 minute's time. So we don't have like 3 weeks to work out those 4 bars of like perfect harmony and resolution. We got now. We got when it's happening. So we need an intuitive understanding, an intuitive expression of all of our emotional and theoretical awareness. And having said all that, look for a couple of follow-up posts on Bill Evans' tone and his compositional approach in solos. Disclosure, it's not Bill Evans' tone. It's just how to get good tone on the piano, and there's some fairly well-established ways of going about that. And the compositional concepts had already been pretty well established by the time Bill came along. He just employed them to his needs, and we can too. Check out The Universal Mind of Bill Evans. He talks about being honest and thorough, and it's worth watching. There's a link in the description. I also invite you to check out my practice resource book, The Road to Aqaba: Practice Strategies for the Jazz Pianist. It's a collection of some fundamental musical concepts for the improvising pianist. It's got detailed explanations for how to practice it and develop this intuitive connection. That's available at dharmajazz.com. There's a link in the description for that as well. Thanks so much for watching. Happy practicing. I'll see you next time.